In this great video that I had with a new guest on the channel, Yael Cabilly, we cover everything that you know on how to prepare your business for sale, how much your business worth, when actually to sell, and much more. So stick to the end, make sure that you watch everything if you're on your phase of thinking to sell your business, your Amazon FBA business, and promise you that you'll get a ton of value here. Now, before I getting into the video, make sure that you subscribe to the channel and you click the bell if you want to get more content like this video, and also go to sourcingmonster.com and subscribe to the newsletter because I share updates and tips that I don't share here. And let's start with this great interview that I had with Yael Cabilly. Okay, our guest for today, Yael, is one of the co-founders of Fortunate, an investment banking firm that helps medium and large Amazon business to sell their store. Welcome, Yael. Could you give us a little background about yourself and Fortunate?
Sure. I'm originally an attorney. I was a trademark lawyer for 15 years. And then in 2015, I started working with Amazon sellers. So first on the legal side and helping them with suspensions and trademarks and IP. I started a firm that focuses only on Amazon, IP, and e-commerce. That's the law firm. We're 14 and really doing practically only Amazon. That's the law firm. In 2018, together with two partners, we started a separate company named Fortunate. It's an investment banking firm where we help sellers going through the exit, the sale process. And the purpose of that company is really, we wanted to create something that is only on the sales side, not intermediary, and not finding buyers, but really taking the sellers from the beginning, from the moment they're thinking about selling the business, building the strategy of that sale, and really going through the entire process until the money is in their pocket. We're also, I think, 15 on that company, growing very, very fast, and again focusing on the sales side.
Nice, very cool. Do you also buy some assets for your own investment, or you only okay, you do the deals with the buyers and sellers? So you have like a pool of buyers, and then you connect them with the sellers, and you already have all the knowledge to really maximize the sell price for the buyers, right?
Yes, I mean we don't see our services much about connecting sellers to buyers, because if you want to, you're a seller, just go on Google. You want to see who the buyers are, just go on Google, you'll see who the buyers are. You don't need me to connect you to buyers. It's true that you cannot get to all the buyers, but what we see, our services are really more about maximizing the value of the exit, just like you said. And we built a process around that, so that the seller would get to the maximum the seller can with the current business. So one of the process, for example, is to prepare the business for sale, prepare the storytelling of the business, really showing the buyers basically all the advantages of your business. The second thing is the preparation of the financials, and we'll talk about that and what you need to think about when you prepare it. And the third part is going through a kind of auction. There are a lot of buyers in the industry. There are hundreds, not dozens, but hundreds of specific buyers for Amazon. And today it's February 2021. If you watch it in a year, the numbers are completely different. The multiples are completely different. And we're in an industry now where it's very much a seller market. And as a seller, you're not selling the business every day. For most people, it's a lifetime event, and you want to make sure that you've taken that and you got the maximum out of what you've built. So it's a lot about showing it the right way, and we'll talk about that. But also this auction process where all the buyers of the industries are looking at your business and they're giving their best offer, we feel it's very important in order to get to the right price.
Nice, nice. Now you mentioned that a year ago the multiples and the selling price that like buyers will pay was maybe less than what you could get today, right? So the multiples went high, I guess, because there are more buyers, there is more money to spend, and also this business is kind of exploding in the last year, so it's really good investment, but with real estate, like when you don't really have enough assets, prices going up. You feel that we see that it's the same thing here. I think that there is more demand from buyers, but there is really less assets or less businesses for sale, which reflect in pricing, the multiples and all of that. Do you see this trend continue, or you see that at some point it will get down?
It's a good question. In the last year, so we know that for example, businesses of more than $1 million, we know that today there's about 30,000. There aren't 30,000 buyers. There aren't more than 30,000. But out of the 30,000 over $1 million sellers, not all of them want to sell the business, right? Only some percentage of them. And at the end, what the market feels right now is that yes, on every account that we go to market, sometimes we get 20 offers, sometimes even more, sometimes less, depending on the kind of business and how many buyers it fits. But it feels very much like a seller's market right now. Will it remain the same? It's a good question. A lot of the buyers are actually going directly to the sellers and they're trying to gauge their interest to sell the business directly. This kind of, this process is, we always say that it brings us clients, because a lot of clients, when they get approached, they want to know where they are, what the multiples are, what they should do, and be consultants. So these moves of going to the sellers and suggesting to buy their business kind of awakes, that some of them didn't even think about the fact that it can be sold. So I think that with time, there's going to be more sellers willing to sell the business and thinking about it or preparing for it. And probably the number of sellers will stabilize, maybe not decline, but probably not grow as it has been in the last year or so. So we're going to see, I think that it's going to stabilize over the year or two, in the coming year or two.
Yeah, very interesting. Now you mentioned that there are 30,000 sellers that sell over $1 million a year in revenue. I didn't know that number, so thank you for sharing this. But you feel that only those that sell over $1 million are kind of qualified to sell, or from your experience, like who is your how you will kind of divert, like who are your sellers that come to sell, like what type of revenues they have?
Right. So it's a good question. So the answer is no. A lot of sellers are selling before they get to $1 million. We at Fortunate focus on sellers with over $1 million because of the process that we do, and the buyers that we focus on. But I'm thinking, if you look at most of the aggregators and new actors in this industry, many of them are looking at businesses for over $1 million, over $500,000,
Yeah.
Not the very small ones. Also,
it takes the same effort, right, to buy $1 million deal, or like to a 100,000 deal.
Right. Maybe not 100 million, but 100,000 and $1 million is the same.
Yeah, 100,000.
Yes. So definitely, I mean, we all work the same on a 500K than on a 5 million. But imagine they have to deploy $100 million, and they have a year or two to deploy that money. They are trying to get, we're seeing that on our side. 2 years ago, when we came out with a business of 10, 15 million, there were very few buyers. Today, with these businesses, they're sold very fast. Even the largest one, even the 25 million deals, they're pretty quick. Just 4 months and you're done.
Yeah.
So right now, I think that there's a buyer for any size of business. Most of the aggregators that are well known are focusing on most of them more than $1 million, but there are some who are looking at smaller, and there are other types of buyers who are looking at smaller businesses. So many sellers, by the way, have this $1 million in mind to get to, and we always laugh like that. There are some goals, like there are some those who want to get to 1 million, those who want to get to 5, those who want to get to 10. So if you look at our transaction, we have tons of 1, 5, 10, and then 20 something. And that's because of those numbers. Psychologically, it makes sense. You want to get to the 1 mil.
Yeah, and I think that it also depends on the person. Maybe at your first deal, you want to cash out, like myself. I want to sell my business, cash out, have enough capital, but I'm not going to be out of the game. I'm going to continue selling on Amazon. And maybe at my second sell, I will have more patience because I know that I have the money to invest and maybe not really sell because I really need the money, and then I could grow it more and more and sell it eventually for higher price. But yeah, good answer. From the
Actually,
seller.
90, just to add on that, I think that probably 95% of our clients are going back to Amazon once they sell. They're building a new brand to resell it. We have a seller now that's doing her second exit, and probably next year her third exit. So they're all going back. Even those that sell because they're tired of Amazon, we see them coming back and selling the business and going back to Amazon, selling on Amazon. So
Yeah, because it's opportunity that I don't know any opportunity or a business that you can invest not a lot of money and grow it and scale it very fast and sell it for like very quick. It's really crazy on what's going on. But yeah, from the seller point of view, what are the factors to decide who to sell to other than like the selling amount? So maybe you get like 10 offers and you will go for the higher price usually, or it also depends on some other factors.
No, so it's a good question, actually. Not necessarily the highest price. I mean, the highest price is what are attracting your eyes, but you need to look at the structure. So just this morning, I spoke with a seller who told me I got an offer of a multiple of 6.5. And I was like, okay, good. And how is it divided? So he said a multiple of 2 up front, and then a multiple of 0.5 after a year, and the rest is depending on growth. If the buyer grows it, we will see. So the multiple is nice, but at the end what you got is a 2x on your business, and that's a 4 or 5x business. Now what you want to look at is really the overall, both the price and the structure. The structure, we always say that for us it's the fun part, thinking about the right structure for the seller. We have a lot of hours around that, and planning the right thing, and planning what we want for the seller, what the seller wants and what's best for that particular seller. So if you launched a new product recently, right? If you sell the business, you feel you kind of lost the money on that launch because you didn't have any multiple on it, because you just launched it. You actually lost money and you're giving it away to the buyers. So sometimes it takes up the multiple because you're coming with a nice asset, but sometimes it doesn't. And what we would ask is to have, to gain from that profit. So sometimes we would ask to split the profit for 2 years for this particular product, or you have to build something around it. We had a case where because of COVID, so the client had two different niches, right? One of them was super successful, really grow during COVID, and the other one is somehow related to inviting people over and kind of parties. So that went down dramatically. And so the buyers told us, listen, we're looking at that business. This business is going to get a, let's say, 3x multiple because it's not that good, because some of it, 30% is declining. So we said, no, there's 30% that's declining, and there's 70% that's growing like crazy. For that, we want, let's say 5x or whatever. And for the 30%, we agree to the 3x, but we want to have some kind of structure that allows us to get more in case the product goes up again when COVID ends. So we kind of, instead of listening to, you have to really be focused on what the business is and then adapt the structure to that. So that's one thing. Second thing, when you think of a buyer, and going back to the structure, if you're taking a risk and you get an upside, okay, so they tell you, you'll get 4x cash, and then you can get an upside. If we take up your business, you'll get 20% of the profit, whatever, some 50% of the profit, whatever you decide. Now, who's the buyer and what history do they have? Are they new? Do they have an history of growing businesses or not? So if you're taking a risk, you want to know what the background is, what they've already done, and you want to make sure that this particular team can do it, because you depend on the buyer for that. If you cannot, then you want to get as much cash as possible. So it really depends on who the buyer is. Some of the buyers are, very successful growing the businesses, and they can show, a history of very nice growth. Some may be successful, but they don't have the history. So you need to understand where they come from, what they did, what they built, so that you can make you can make a decision. Today, I'm always saying that it's a double due diligence. I think that, the buyer does a due diligence on the seller, but the seller wants to understand as well who's the buyer.
For sure. Reputation also, and I think it's really recommended working with a firm like you or others similar to yours, because that's what you do. You know all these things. When a seller that only knows about Amazon and don't have experience with all these things come directly to the buyer, there's so many things that can go wrong because you don't know what you don't know. And also when you deal with the buyer that you already did like 10 deals with, you know how they operate, you know their reputation, and you can recommend to the buyer, look, from our experience, after you sign the contracts, for example, they come up with 10 more requirements, or they check XYZ in more depth, which in my opinion I would prefer to get less money, but get a smooth transaction. That's how I look at things. And you, someone that do it all day, that's your expertise. So definitely recommend to anyone.
I mean, as I said, I think that I guess if you're sued in court, you wouldn't go without a lawyer. Why? Because, you may have watched tons of movies, and, you know that you can object, that you can present your case, but there are, professionals doing that, and you know that your best chances would be if you take an attorney. I think that in this case, you want to have a consultant if you feel that it's adding value. The problem is that, as you said, you don't know what you don't know. So just to give you an example, when you prepare the P&L, okay, you can prepare it, the buyer can prepare it for you, which is very often the case if you work directly with the buyer. Now, there are things that some sellers haven't even thought about. Like, so for example, we had.
I'm sorry, you're breaking up. Say it again.
Were a seller only. So I had recently, the seller was using. Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Breaking up. Say it again.
Am I back? So I'm saying a seller that we represented recently, he was using only air freight, and we calculated that because of that he lost about 100K. And we know that the buyer will not use air freight. He did that, by the way, because he didn't have the cash. He wasn't organized in advance, so he did everything at the last moment. So he had to use air freight. But that was his restraint. That's not going to be the case for the buyer. So we took those 100K, and we came to the buyer and we said, listen, this is the real expense, but you won't have that expense. And so we asked to adjust that particular part, and 100K, with the multiple, it can be 400K or 500K. So just by that, just by thinking about how to build it correctly and professionally, you just covered, any fee, and you just gained 500K. So that's part of the thing, and of course, I think that even the process itself of not speaking with one buyer or two buyers or even three buyers, but lining up, working with all the buyers in the industry, then you got the right price. Only at that point where everybody has seen it and you've done it the right way, and you prepared the P&L the right way, you got to the maximum you can. And there's, of course, the part about the structure that can get complicated doing a loan.
Yeah, yeah, very, very good points here. Um, these days, who are the type of buyers that, operating in the space right now? Is this big companies that, got these like hundreds of millions dollars behind them, or you also see like private investors that I know back then, maybe a year or 2 years ago, people would buy, put offers on businesses, and then it's substance to SBA approval loan or things like that, and it's
Not the case
doesn't make
anymore.
sense because it they cannot maybe get the approval for that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
who are the players in the space right now?
So there are many types, and in 2020, a lot of new types came in. I can tell you that it depends on the size of business, right? So there are private buyers, there are VCs coming in, there are private equities for the larger businesses on Amazon. Very often they work with an agency. They are what we call the aggregators, company that have raised 100 million, 200 or 700 million just to buy Amazon businesses. There are sellers who want to expand their specific category. So larger Amazon sellers, larger e-commerce companies. I think we covered most of them, but really all types of sellers, of buyers. Most of them, some of them are faster than others. So private sellers, when it's the first time, sometimes they can lose a deal because of their pace, and by the time they give an offer, it was already sold. The industry is very fast right now, so even the private buyers and the VCs, those who know and have tried, they get organized to, if they're interested in the business, within 2-3 days from the moment we sent it, we already get an offer, or they speak with the seller and then we get an offer. So I think it's very diverse right now, as opposed to what was the case. The loans, because of the pace and the time it takes, it's not very easy to have a deal that way, as opposed to maybe 2 years ago, because those with the cash just take the deal.
So many buyers, many type of buyers. I think it's more, if you deal directly with those buyers, then you need to know all these type of buyers and need to know how they think when you deal with them. It's very important, because once you have this info, you can give them back offers. But like I said before, if you do it yourself, there are so many things that can go wrong. But if you do it with an expert like you already know how to talk to, let's say, one type of buyer, which the other end to a different type of buyer will not really talk or give back offers that are relevant for them. So I think it's important to know how they work and operate. This is something that I deal with right now, but how you think that people mentally should deal with the timing of the sales and offer? As we know, there's so much money out there right now in the market from buyers that are looking for sellers. The outreach that they do is very aggressive. I get tons of emails every day, and I'm sure many, like the rest of the sellers that are selling on Amazon, getting the same, and that put people in pressure. And not all people are mentally prepared to maybe waiting and know what is the right timing for them with the preparation. So what are the tips for you to really be prepared in your mind when to sell and how to sell, and maybe have a goal, and maybe do it in a professional way, and not just, do it because you got an offer or an email from someone, which they can pull you to sell even if you're not ready, because that's their job to get all these great deals.
Yeah. I think that, buyers will always reach out, and that's fine. I think that you have to kind of disregard that and think for yourself, what do you want? So there's a list of things that, we always ask our clients, and some are personal, some are professional. I'll give you an example. Some of the sellers, tell us, listen, I'm super stressed. I cannot sleep at night. Amazon is, getting on my nerves. I need to sell the business as soon as possible. I want to get rid of it now. Okay. So that's one type of person, and I can understand why. There's the suspension activity that we deal with. So I can understand the stress. And when a seller reaches a certain goal, they can sell the business. If you're not at that stage and a seller comes to me and say, listen, Yael, I have time, I trust my business, I know there's a risk with Amazon, but I also understand what the risk is. I know my business is not going to collapse tomorrow, thank God. And then I want to understand, when is the right time for me? Should I wait a year? Should I wait half a year? Should I wait how? So what we do in those cases is, first of all, we prepare a P&L to understand where you are. I think it's extremely difficult to take a decision without knowing your numbers.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
some sellers, by the way, a lot of sellers think they know the numbers, but once you do the P&L, they discover other numbers. So you want to know where you are right now. Out of the P&L, a lot of things come out, a lot of things. We had a case about a year ago. We sat with a seller. It was an 8-figure business. We look at the numbers, we look at the P&L, and we saw that the profit wasn't very high. It was around 18%. And then we immediately saw on the P&L that something, wasn't right on the PPC side. So my partner sat with the seller for like 3 days, and they eventually changed the strategy of the PPC, and the profit went up from 18 to 26%. And this stayed that way for a year. And when we started the sale about a year later, the numbers were really optimized when it comes to that business. And that's not because we're geniuses. It's only because there are things that come out of the P&L immediately. If if it isn't right and something is odd, you'll see it immediately. So first of all, prepare your numbers so that you can know where you are, and also you can see what's wrong and what's not, what's good, and continue after. Another thing to think about is your goal. And that's extremely personal. Some of them tell me, I want to sell when I get to 5 million. I want to sell when I get to 1, as we said earlier. I want to sell then this and that. And then we look at, again, the numbers. We see how much time it will get to be there, what you need to do in order to get there. And then you focus on that goal. That's it. I mean, if you have 1 year to get to the goal, okay, what I would do during that year is to get as much profit as you can. Like, do everything you can.
Profit mode.
Yeah, right. Profit mode. If you can cut costs that are not very important in the growth, then cut them. But really focus on doing what you do best. If it's, launching new variations, then do that. If it's going to new markets, then do that. I wouldn't start, by the way, with crazy. If you have 1 year or half a year, I wouldn't start with crazy adventures of things you've never tried. Like, starting retail, if you have 6 months, doesn't make sense.
Don't take risks. Just try to do, like you said, what you do, and do it well, and try to cut expenses and be prepared. And also, I think that, like, be prepared that even if you see like, very nice offers, similar to my case, but you look at the numbers, you look at the data, and it doesn't make sense, then maybe wait a little bit, have some patience, understand that you might get much higher numbers than what you can get now. And not all the time it will make sense, but many times, like you said, and you gave me this advice, and I'm thankful for that, to wait, and hopefully it will be a right decision for whoever is waiting. Last
It's
question
really a
before we.
case by case.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
sorry. I'm saying it's really a case by case basis.
Yeah.
Sometimes, we have cases where you can sell now and you'll get an amazing price for now and an amazing multiple. But if you only wait 6 months, you get 500,000 or 1 million more. And then, you need to decide risk versus the upside. If you wait 6 months and the only thing you got is 50K or 100K, then you may not wait. I mean, you may want to sell it right now. If you're seeing a big reward that goes with that risk, then depending on your ability to live with the risk, then you may want to wait. It really depends on the specific case. It's not one for all.
Yeah, I agree. It depends on so many things, on the people you deal with, yourself. Like, yeah, you're right. Um, like I said before we wrap it up, like, this is something that I myself ask myself, and I couldn't really find enough information about it. But how actually the transfer of the assets work? So, you have your seller account, you might have your domain names, your Shopify, your Walmart account, all of these. How it actually works as far as transferring? Does Amazon like doing it? They're against it? They're giving troubles with it? Walmart, like, how it actually works?
So when it comes to Amazon, you need to ask their permission. If you don't get the permission, you cannot do it. So you need to ask Amazon's permission. And once you ask for the permission, there's a process just to change the ownership, the legal entity on the account. When we do that, we do it step by step, really to make sure everything goes smoothly. So the legal entity, and then bank account, and then credit card, to make sure that nothing falls. And then there's the transfer of the trademark with the USPTO. Walmart, it's more complicated. It takes much more time. eBay takes a second. It really depends on what platform you have. Shopify is also super easy to transfer. But with Amazon, well, you need to know what you're doing. Don't just jump and change everything without getting approval and without knowing how to do it, because that can lead to a suspension. But if you do it the right way, I've never seen any major problem in that area.
What about trademark from China?
You transfer it in China. You just file a request for assignment with the Chinese trademark office. Very easy.
Gotcha.
By the way, if you don't want to transfer your account, you can transfer the listing, so you can keep the account. If it's very, just one listing or two, that's an option. That's not that bad. Transferring the listings and not the account. It just takes more time. You have to finish your inventory. They come with their account on the same listing, and then you finish your inventory, and they continue from there.
Gotcha.
That's the
didn't know that you can do it. Yeah, very, very useful and helpful information, Yael. Thank you so much for being a guest here. For those that want to reach out to you and contact you, how they can find more about you?
So you can write me an email. It's yael@fortinet.net, or on Facebook, Yael Cabilly. I'm very available.
She's very active. And once the world's open again, I'm sure that we'll see her in all these Amazon conferences, like you show up in those and
give. Now we're online.
Yeah, we're online for now. But yeah, thank you again, Yael. It was great having you here. Thank you very much. And hopefully we'll have you again as a guest in the future.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
Thank you.